to the MMA Fan Podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Stu and Blake.
Hello and welcome to the MMA Fan Show. I'm Stu Whiffin. Joining me always, Blake Harrison. How are you, mate?
Very good, very good. How are you?
I'm all right. I mean, we're going to try and record two shows today because so much has happened, and we're going to touch on another show on UFC 300 and all of the stuff that's been announced for that and stuff that we think might just happen. So if you've not subscribed, subscribe, because that's going to be a lot of fun, that show, because I've got some wild predictions.
You've always got wild predictions.
But I guess today's show we're going to focus on basically the last sort of 3 or 4 days worth of MMA news, of huge fight announcements.
Well, actually, let's peel the curtain back a little bit. We were supposed to do this record like a day or two ago.
Yes.
Because there's been, as you say, loads of fight announcements been made. Obviously, there's the UFC 300, what's going to headline it stuff as well. Mm-hmm. But not only did we have a power cut at the studio so that we couldn't record, you had a bird in your office.
It was,
and that doesn't sound as good as it sounds.
No. So I come in, right, and it's frozen. Like the whole estate where the studio is completely like covered in ice, and it was absolutely bloody freezing. So I turn up and I'm like, right, I'm going to go and put the heating on before Blake gets here, so the studio's nice and warm. And nothing's happening. So I'm like, this is weird. And then I just start to look elsewhere and can see that there's no power anywhere. So I go back into my office, which is just across the road from the studio. And as I open the door, a robin redbreast flies at my head. I scream, probably the most high-pitched scream my vocal capabilities will allow. I went full Mariah Carey. It was really made me jump. It would have been the most hilariously pathetic thing to have seen a 6'3" guy do. But yeah, managed to get the bird out of the office, and we've got power back. Hence, we're here today to talk about some fantastic fight announcements.
Yes, so a bit late, but shall we start with, I guess, probably the biggest announcement in combat sports at the moment.
And the biggest boys.
And the biggest boys is Anthony Joshua versus Francis Ngannou. I mean,
to quote AJ, battle of the bodybuilders.
Battle of the bodybuilders. I mean, look at them both. Look at his arms glistening in the moonlight. It's lovely stuff. But firstly, let's just go back a little bit. It wasn't long ago that everyone was like, oh, Francis is fumbling the bag. No one wants him. No one wants him at one championship. They don't want him at Bellator or whatever it is. They don't want him here. He'll never get the Fury fight. Obviously, he had the Fury fight. Even though he didn't win the fight, he sort of won the night. Yeah. Because everyone's opinion of him skyrocketed. Even boxing fans that had zero interest in Francis Ngannou fighting against Fury, which, I understood. And as someone that's not a huge boxing fan, even I was like, this is a bit ridiculous. Yeah. But he proved everyone wrong. Now, we can say that Fury maybe underestimated him. I think that's probably quite fair to say. But he put on an amazing show, knocked down the lineal heavyweight champion in Tyson Fury, and has now booked himself a fight with Anthony Joshua, who looked decent in his last fight compared to what we've seen lately of Joshua. What's your interest levels like for this fight? Like, are you like, take my money, or are you like, meh?
No, I'm excited. It's another fantastic chapter in the book that's going to be the film. That's going to be the Francis Ngannou story.
I so want to be in that movie. I don't know who I can play. I can't play Francis. I've got range, but it's not that good.
I'm really excited for it because I was excited for Francis Fury. I mean, we all knew that Francis is the big power puncher. Yeah. And I think we thought with the Fury fight that Fury was just going to kind of dance around him and literally pick him apart. And he didn't. Mm-hmm. And I think because Francis didn't walk into him, like he just kind of kept his range and he just fought smart. And I think when they did get in a clinch, I think Fury couldn't ragdoll him around because he's so big. And I think we saw something miraculous. I still think Francis won that fight. And he come out of that the winner, because everybody loves Francis's story, right? It's fantastic, and I think the fact that Dana must just be thinking, fuck.
I'm sure he's not happy.
Because Francis has left the UFC and made more money than he could ever have dreamt of.
Oh, my God.
And now he's going to fight Anthony Joshua. And I think he's going to beat Anthony Joshua.
Whoa, you just threw that one in there. You think Francis Ngannou is going to beat Anthony Joshua?
Mm-hmm. I think he's going to knock him out, and quite quickly.
Wow. I mean, Anthony Joshua, former world heavyweight champion. Wasn't he an Olympic? Was he Olympic champion?
Yeah,
Or did he get Olympic champion? And you think Francis Ngannou... Because the other thing here is AJ is probably not going to be underestimating Ngannou in the way that Fury did. I do think it's very likely that Fury didn't take his camp for Ngannou that seriously.
I'm not sure. I think
you think Fury was taking that seriously? As seriously as he would an Usyk or a Wilder?
I think he thought Francis was going to walk into him and just try and knock him out. And he didn't, he fought on the back foot and he fought a smart fight. I think maybe he didn't expect that. I don't think he trained for that. I think he thought, I'm just going to counter him and put him away.
But you think he put in a full proper training camp, even though during that training camp they announced the Usyk fight that was meant to be happening only like a month or two after or whatever it was.
And I think that deal being in place was so important in that decision to give that fight to Fury, because the money's there. It's all lined up that he's got to fight Usyk. And so I think AJ will definitely not underestimate Francis, because he's just watched like what he done with Tyson Fury. Tyson Fury, I think, like to fight Anthony Joshua, I don't think ever wants to fight Tyson Fury. That's a bad fight for Anthony Joshua. My thoughts on what I see, how I see this fight going, right? When I watch Anthony Joshua fight, he's quite planted. He doesn't move lots. He's not on his toes like Fury. There's not lots of head movement. Yes, he's got serious power. We know that. I just think if it's going to come down to power, I think Francis is going to knock him out. I really do. And I think Francis goes into this fight with so much confidence.
I don't know enough about boxing to be contradicting you too much. Your take has taken me by surprise, but I don't know enough to kind of contradict you or say anything about it, because I just don't follow boxing enough. But Jesus Christ, what a story that would be. The guy that is now 0-1 in boxing, with the story, as you said, that Ngannou has. Everyone loves Ngannou. Everyone wants to see Ngannou do well. He beats Anthony Joshua.
Yeah, man. Fucking cool.
I mean, Jesus, start getting the movie rights sorted now, because that is an unbelievable story. And then I'm assuming Francis, I think, came out on Helwani's show saying that he wants to fight Fury after this, regardless of whether Fury beats Usyk or Usyk beats Fury. It doesn't matter. He's not interested in the belts as much as he is the fight with Fury. So, whatever. But again, Fury or Usyk wins that fight, you think if Ngannou beats Joshua, he's fighting for the belts next? Is that what happens, or does
no?
he just...
Because when he fought Fury, it wasn't for the belts. The belts weren't on the line.
No.
But now I think
he's now ranked. He was unranked. He's now ranked.
And I mean, if you're a heavyweight fighter, you look at that and you just think, oh dear. I think Anthony Joshua thinks he can beat Francis.
Of course he does.
Right. But I think...
As any heavyweight boxer should. I don't think any heavyweight boxer, especially a ranked one, should look at Francis Ngannou and think, oh, he'd do me. Because he's not technically a boxer. I know that he did incredibly well in the Fury stuff, but
who's the most technical boxer in the top 10?
Well, I'm assuming it's Fury.
Of course it is.
Yeah.
Moves like a middleweight, hits like a heavyweight. He's got everything.
But was that 100% Fury?
But surely 50% Fury should have put away someone from a different organisation.
I agree. And the facts are that 50% Fury, if that was 50% Fury, beat Francis Ngannou. All right, he didn't win the night.
Yeah.
Technically, on the scorecards, he beat Francis Ngannou. Do you think 100% Anthony Joshua or Deontay Wilder or Joseph Parker or whoever is really looking at Francis and going, I don't really want that smoke?
I think the fights Anthony Joshua does not want to fight Deontay Wilder, does not want to fight Tyson Fury. They're fights that do not suit him. And he's avoided them fights like the plague, right? He doesn't want them. Fury's not ducked anyone. And I think
you're being harsh on AJ, I have to say.
Do you think so?
Yeah. I mean, look, there might be people around, like managements and Eddie Hearns and people like that are going, we'll make more money if you fight these 4 people before you get to them, because if a mistake is made or something goes wrong, then it's on the decline comes from there. But yeah, I don't think AJ is going, no, I don't want to fight Fury. I think he'd love to fight Fury.
I don't. I think when he had a load of belts wrapped around him, there was so many fights that could have been made. It's a super fight. It's, when you've got 2 of the best heavyweights in the world and they're in the UK, that fight should have happened. I don't know about the politics of boxing. We know that it's, very questionable.
Yep.
And there's different organisations within it. So I don't know. I watched that last AJ fight. He didn't blow my socks off. People saying, it was vintage AJ, blah, blah, blah. And it was like, I don't think that the opponent was in the league that AJ should be fighting. He should have been fighting higher ranked and much better fighters than him. I think Francis puts him away. I really do. When we've seen Fury knocked down, right, we have seen something supernatural happen. We've seen him get up from literally flatlining on a hospital bed. Yeah. And it
was like The Undertaker in wrestling.
It was just unreal. AJ, that ain't happening. If he gets dropped, he's going to get up, and I think Francis will make very easy work of it.
Oh my God! Well, you've made me more excited about this fight. I might have to actually part with my money for this one.
I love Francis, and I'm I know that I should be back in the Brit, but I'm all about Francis' story, and I love it. Just seems like the nicest dude, man.
He really does, doesn't he? He does.
Yeah.
Well, look, there's going to be a lot of people excited about this fight, but there's going to be a contingent of people that are like, Francis left the UFC as the #1 heavyweight on the planet in MMA. He unfortunately didn't get to fight John Jones. And then there's the whole problem with that. There's probably people out there going, I want to see Francis fight in MMA. He is the #1 heavyweight on the planet, the lineal UFC champion, as it were. Should he have fought in MMA, or was there enough options for him in MMA?
Not within the PFL. No, I don't think so.
No super fights that could have happened, especially now that they've acquired Bellator and things. I'm sort of putting this out there when I already know the answer is no. He's done exactly the right thing for his career, but there will be a contingent of people out there that want him to fight MMA. What were the options out there for him, and should people just stop moaning about that?
I just think, okay, so in a weird world, right, if the UFC allow people to box outside of their contract, Francis, one of the greatest UFC heavyweights of all time, John Jones, that's not going to happen, right? That's not going to happen.
They're not going to co-promote with
because
the PFL.
I don't think John Jones would go, I'll box Francis. So I'm just trying to think of a heavyweight that currently hasn't got a fight booked, that's one of the most scariest people on the planet, that had boxing fights and was a fantastic boxer.
But I'm talking about MMA, like to fight him in MMA.
You don't think Aspinall, Francis, boxing? Oh, yes, please.
Well, no, but the purpose of my question was, should he have fought in MMA? Do we want him back in MMA? And who were the options for him in MMA?
Right. For Francis, I want the best for Francis, right?
Yep.
As a human being, I think he's just excelling in what he should have done.
I agree.
In so far as making money. We saw him in the UFC. We see him look fantastic. Obviously we've seen him lose. He's never coming back to the UFC. I just don't see that happening. I don't think... I think he's just now looking at his bank balance and just thinking, why the fuck would I go and line Dana's pockets, if anything? No,
but it would obviously be in the PFL. It would have to be someone being brought over from the UFC that's ended their contract. Like, obviously, Derek Lewis re-signed with the UFC, so it wouldn't be Derek Lewis. But like PFL have acquired Bellator. There's Ryan Bader There's the whole thing about a mixed rules fight with Deontay Wilder that could happen in the PFL, which is more MMA than boxing.
The Wilder fight, obviously, Wilder's just come off a loss.
Yeah.
And so maybe that's... I mean, that's an easy night for Francis, I think.
Yeah.
And could probably make money out of it. But Ryan Bader, I mean, really? Does anyone... I mean, don't get me wrong, Ryan Bader's a great fighter.
Yeah.
But Francis Ngannou versus Ryan Bader
He doesn't
at the PFL, and I'm taking nothing away from the organisation.
Yeah.
But he might as well just go, well, I'll fight Ruiz or I'll box Joseph Parker and make 5 times the amount of money.
No, you're absolutely right. I was putting it out there as just like, this is the MMA fan show after all, and we're talking about a couple of boxing fights on this card. But let's move on then. Best of luck to Francis. But let's move on. Here we go. This is one that I think I'd rather... You love that bit.
It's such a weird photo.
We've moved on, to anyone listening and not watching on YouTube, we've moved on to an announcement that Jorge Masvidal is back against Nathan Diaz in a boxing match in March in Vegas. Now, this, as far as I'm aware, is not 100% signed, sealed and delivered, but it's very much in the works. It's very much something that is very possibly going to happen. I'm assuming it would be like Gamebred Boxing and Real Fight Inc. co-promotion. Obviously, it's a rematch of the inaugural kind of BMF title fight that happened at UFC 244 in 2019. A fight that Masvidal absolutely dominated. And my plan was to rewatch that fight, but I've had 2 ill children at home over the last week, and I haven't done. But from my knowledge of it and remembrance of it, Masvidal just pieced him up, and it was usually with strikes. Obviously, the ref stopped the fight, I think, before the 4th round because of a cut over Diaz's eye, I believe. What's your interest level for something like this?
It's pretty low.
Is it really?
Yeah.
These are 2 stars. These are 2 of the biggest stars the UFC have produced in Nate Diaz and Jorge Masvidal. Massive followings, and you're just like, meh. Is it because it's in boxing and not in MMA, or is it because these guys are past their prime?
I'd say maybe a bit of both.
Yeah?
Like, they are both past their prime. Maybe, I don't know, maybe Nate a little more. I don't know. What was Masvidal's last outing in the UFC?
Was it Gilbert Burns? Where he got beat by decision, maybe?
Yeah.
To Burns?
I mean, I like what he's doing with Gamebred. I think he's put some interesting fights on there.
Yeah.
And he seems to be sort of setting up a nice home for lots of former UFC stars over there to make some money. I'm a big fan of Masvidal. I'm a big fan of Nate Diaz. To see him box, I'll watch it, but I'm not super hyped about it.
Will you pay for it?
No, God, no. No. No.
So, but do you think it will sell? I don't really pay for the boxing stuff. I'm not interested in boxing so much. If I'm like going
so you don't watch it, or you illegally stream it?
No, I don't do the illegal streams. I'm not technically proficient enough on all the internet stuff to even know how to. You're saying like a joke, but that's genuinely true. You've seen me try to set up these 3 cameras that we use. I cannot even find an illegal streaming site for stuff. I'm that useless.
I've never been able to do that either.
No, I don't. I'm also scared. I feel like if I go on one of those things, then all my devices are going to have viruses all over them or something. So I'm sort of scared of them.
You're such a warrior. I love the fact that you just get this live stream and you just imagine that there's like a couple of cops like at the end of your road eating donuts and they're like, oh, we got him. And like...
No, it's not even that. I'm more worried about like you click on these things like you see it on Twitter. If you're scrolling through Twitter when Jake Paul or someone is boxing, it's like Jake Paul full fight, follow this link, And I'm like, I kind of wouldn't mind seeing what's going on, but also if I click this link, am I now just going to be like
bombarded with emails about erectile dysfunction?
Well, which I am already anyway.
Yeah.
But more like, oh my God, they've accessed my bank account because I clicked this link. Or who's the guys with the V for Vendetta mask? Anonymous?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's them, and they're after me. Anonymous, they've not got enough politicians and people with real power to go after. They're going to go after me and just like, I don't know, just fake tweet stuff that gets me in trouble or something. I don't know.
Fantastic.
So I'm just fearful of so many things in life, and illegally streaming is one of them. So, but would I pay for this fight in boxing? No. Would I pay for it in MMA? If they put together an MMA card with a couple of little decent fights and then these two headlining, rematch of that first BMF thing, I think I would. I think I'd go, as long as it wasn't 20 quid. I'd pay 20 quid to see Nate and Masvidal run it back in MMA, but I'm not fussed about boxing.
That said, on them Game Bread events, the card's pretty decent. So if there's a good card, I probably will pay for it, in fact. Yeah. But in regards to this happening in boxing, I'm not overly excited about it.
Fair enough. Who takes it?
I think Jorge, when it comes to just standing and boxing.
I agree. I wouldn't be surprised if it goes the way of their BMF fight and gets stopped for a cut or something like that. Let's get on to this. I just need to sit back and enjoy this for a moment.
I mean, Blake's looking at a picture of Benoit Saint Denis and who I thought might have finished the year as a champ, Dustin Poirier. I mean, who saw this one coming?
Not me. I'm so glad we got onto this now. Like, you can talk Ngannou, Joshua, lovely, good for Ngannou, whatever. Masvidal, Nate Diaz, I hope they make loads of money. This is where it's at for me. This could be fight of the year. This has everything. And credit to Dustin Poirier. Because
we've said, haven't we, so often, like, he doesn't seem to want to fight outside of that top five. He's holding his position, but what fights are in that top five for him? Not that many, because they've all been had. And everybody's after that sort of strap. We don't see Dustin getting a chance to get that strap this year. So what does he do? He fights possibly the most dangerous prospect outside of that top five.
Oh, man. But, I mean, it's just... Why has Poirier picked Saint Denis? He could have picked lots of people. He turned his nose up at Dariush.
He must think he can beat him.
He must think he can beat him. What is it about Benoit Saint Denis do you think he's looking at and going, yeah, I've got that? Is it because Benoit Saint Denis has not fought anyone close to the level of Poirier yet? We're all very excited about Benny Saint Denis. We love Benny Saint Denis. Great finishes. Matt Frivola recently with that head kick. That was phenomenal. Absolutely.
Who did he destroy at UFC Paris?
Thiago Moises. My God, just destroyed him. But he does really well with his wrestling. He's got just like this kind of grit and determination about the way he comes forward. Probably from, like, I'm just piecing together nonsense here maybe, but he's an ex-army guy in like, was it like the kind of French Marines or whatever it was? I mean,
look at his face. Look how angry he is. Someone's just said smile for the camera. That's him smiling. That's him relaxed.
Oh man, it's so good. It's such a great fight. I so much credit to Dustin Poirier, because what does Poirier gain from a win here?
Fuck all.
Paycheck, that's it.
Like, he's a paycheck, and it's probably not the biggest paycheck he could have got. So I don't know. Maybe he just thinks, right, this is the guy everyone's talking about. This is the guy that is one of the most exciting fighters that are coming along in my division now, that everybody's talking about as being a savage. Dustin must just think, do you know what? I'm gonna take him, and I'm gonna do what I do best.
It's a 5-round co-main event for UFC 299 as well, isn't it?
Do I want to see...
Does that favour Poirier?
100%. Just experience, and you know, he's been in the trenches, and you know, in regards to the UFC, not in Benoit's military career, but he, you know, we've seen Dustin go 5 rounds with some absolute fucking legends.
Just putting this into perspective again, and the stones on Dustin Poirier, the cajones. Dustin Poirier is ranked 3rd. Benoit Saint Denis is ranked 12th. That is. Do we need to stop talking about lightweight, kind of those elevator fighters, those squatters now that are just like not fighting outside top? Because we had Gaethje fought Fiziev at the start in March of last year in London. Poirier is taking on Benny Saint Denis. We had Dariush fight against Charles Oliveira. We had Dariush fight backwards against like the Mateusz Gamrots of the world, and then Arman Tsarukyan as well. And we've got another fight that we're going to talk about in a minute involving Charles Oliveira as well. Do we need? Is now the whole lightweight top 5 squatting, is that done now? Do we have to put that to bed for a bit?
I just think maybe the UFC are like, look, this this division's the cogs have got to turn, and it can't just stagnate at the top, So, right, Dustin, Benoit Saint Denis, you fancy it? And I think he's just gone, well, let's do it. And it's a mad fight for him to take.
It really
because,
is, isn't it?
Like I say, it's not the biggest payday, and there's a lot of risk there, because if Dustin loses to the 12th ranked person in that division, that doesn't do his stock any good.
No. And would it be on a 2-fight losing streak after that, after the Gaethje one? Or would it be 3? I'd try to think who were Poirier's most recent opponents. Obviously, Conor will be in there. Oliveira will be in there. But who was Dustin?
Islam?
No, he's not fought Islam yet, has he? No, Dustin Poirier. We got the win over Michael Chandler.
Oh, of course.
So it was, yeah. So he lost in. So he got the 2 Conor fights, lost to Charles Oliveira for the belt, beat Michael Chandler, then lost to Justin Gaethje. So I'm looking through Poirier's record now. He has never, in his entire career, amateur and professional, and we're talking a lot of fights, never had back-to-back losses ever in his career. But he is now 34 years of age. Benoit Saint Denis is part of that new crop of lightweights that need to somehow push through and break through that barrier at the top 5 and stuff. So, like Arman Tsarukyan has done as well.
What an opportunity he's been given.
What an opportunity he's been given. And in co-main event of a huge pay-per-view where Sean O'Malley and Vera are at the top of that pay-per-view, 299 overall is looking better than what that 300 would. I almost think they should flip those around.
Really is. Really
300,
is.
I know we need more announcements for that, but 299 is looking outstanding.
Absolutely.
As a card. And this is a huge part of that. So, yeah, credit to Dustin Poirier for taking this fight, and good luck to Benny Saint Denis. I'm a huge Benny Saint Denis fan, and I genuinely think this could be a Fight of the Year contender. I think these guys are going to go to war. I think it's going to be great.
Who wins?
If I had to pick, right now I would go Poirier. That could change. Mm-hmm. I just think the experience. He's good everywhere. He's got good defensive wrestling. He's got great crisp striking and boxing. But if Benoit Saint Denis loses the first round or two and is still there, he just seems like a winner. He just seems like a marauder. He seems like someone, you can't break him. And I just think that this will be a really, really interesting fight.
That picture of him looks like he's got a mouthful of Dustin's hot sauce. He doesn't like it, but he doesn't want to offend him by spitting it out.
Yeah, he's a thoughtful guy. He doesn't want to spit out his hot sauce.
And I echo your thoughts on that. I think that he's too well-rounded at the moment, Dustin, and I think the experience will absolutely get him through this fight. I think unless Benoit does something in the early rounds, I do think we'll just see Dustin just rely on that experience and the fact that he's fantastic to get him through this. Okay.
Last fight. Oh, well, we might talk about a couple of others, but the main one that we want to talk about, this is another one that made me so happy.
Mm-hmm. We're talking Arman Tsarukyan versus Charles Oliveira, yeah?
Yes, we are. Sorry, I keep thinking that everyone can see us, see the big picture.
Well, if you've not checked us out on YouTube, then go and do so. Go and check us out. Just search for the MMA Fan Show and look at us in our shiny new studio.
Yeah, I mean, this is for UFC 300. This is an unreal fight. Tsarukyan, Charles Oliveira. I think... this is the fight that should have been made. I don't believe Charles... A lot of people think Charles has been dealt a harsh hand here because he had that fight with Islam booked. Personally, I don't. I don't think he should have got a rematch with Islam that obviously he had to pull out of and Volk stepped in. But I don't think he should have got that rematch because all he did was beat Dariush. And don't get me wrong, that was a huge win. That was brilliant. But I don't think you should just get one win after losing the belt and then get an immediate rematch. I think you have to do more. And I think that, and in the manner in which Makhachev beat Oliveira as well. I think he needs to earn it more. A bit like Robert Whittaker had to do when he had to fight Izzy for that second time. He had to go and win and win and win. Max Holloway obviously got his immediate rematch because he was such a dominant champion in the lead up to his loss to Volkanovski. But then before the third fight, he had to have at least a couple of wins, I think it was. So I think this is exactly right. And if Oliveira beats Arman Tsarukyan, who I think stylistically is the worst matchup for Islam in that division, not to say Islam can't beat him, but I just think it's the worst matchup for him. If Oliveira beats Tsarukyan, I think he's 100% earned it then. There's no ifs, no buts. He should be the next guy. That's it. And if Tsarukyan wins, dear Lord, that'd be a phenomenal fight between Tsarukyan and Islam, because it would be the rematch. Tsarukyan lost that fight to Islam originally, but it was his first fight in the UFC, and he's come on bundles since that fight. I just think whoever wins this fight is the toughest match for Islam in the division, and that is the fight that 100% should be made. And Dana said it himself. He said the winner of this fight will be fighting Islam, and that's it. And I think that makes perfect sense.
How do you see the fight playing out?
I think Tsarukyan wins. I think he just wrestles him. And I think that, yes, he would have to be very, very careful because Oliveira's jiu-jitsu is so dangerous and so good. But I just think he's young, he's dominant. I think actually on the feet this could be a really fun fight because Oliveira's got great Muay Thai, doesn't care about being taken down, so he will throw some crazy stuff. Tsarukyan has proved in the Dariush fight he has knockout power. He's also got other good attributes with his striking. That lead leg kind of head kick is fantastic. So I think this could play out on the feet and Charles could get knocked out. I also think that Tsarukyan has the ability to just hit him with a heavy shot and then take him down, avoid all of Oliveira's tricky kind of jiu-jitsu, because I think when you've got a wrestler that's so good in like the Makhachevs and the Tsarukyans, they can nullify the jiu-jitsu stuff. They can play it safe.
Well, we've seen
but still land the ground and pound. Michael Chandler did it at points in the fight between Oliveira and Michael Chandler. That first round, Chandler, I think Oliveira took his back almost like standing up from what I remember. Mm-hmm. Chandler jumped back into his, so that Oliveira had his back on the ground. Survived, but then got round and got on top of him and was just smashing him up. And I think if Oliveira just thinks, I can pull guard here, or I can be taken down and I can just throw up some submissions and do really well from the bottom, I think he's in big trouble. I don't think that's a good game plan for him. And it's something we've seen him do before, and I think Tsarukyan will welcome that, avoid anything too dangerous, and just hit him with some heavy shots on the ground, and it could be a bad night for Oliveira.
I don't think you're far off the money there, my friend. Couple of other fights that we...
Before you do, can I just ask this?
Yes.
Shall I tell you who the forgotten man is in this division now?
Tell me.
Mateusz Gamrot.
Yeah.
He was originally the backup fighter for Oliveira and Islam Makhachev. Oliveira is injured. They don't go to the backup fighter in Gamrot. They go to Volkanovski. And now Gamrot is taking on RDA. He's taking off on Rafael dos Anjos at UFC 299. No one cares. No one cares about Gamrot, who has a win over Tsarukyan. Now, for me, I scored that decision for Tsarukyan. I don't think Gamrot did beat him, but on the history books will say Gamrot beat Tsarukyan.
Yeah.
And now we've got a situation where Gamrot is just a forgotten man in this division, and a win over RDA is not going to do anything like what a win... Benoit Saint Denis beats Poirier, he leaps over Gamrot. If any of these two guys win, they leap over. Not to mention we haven't talked about Justin Gaethje in this lineup, and Makhachev said he would like to fight Gaethje maybe in June. Poor old Gamrot.
Yeah, and that ain't an easy paycheck, RDA, either.
No, it's not.
And what's to be gained from that apart from a paycheck? Very little. Very little. Okay. Should we move on to just a couple of... We haven't really got loads to say about... Zhang's going to be fighting Zhang.
Yes, that's at UFC 300.
Absolutely. I'm really hyped for this. I actually think this could be really good. I mean, I don't see her beating Zhang.
Are you so hyped that when Dana White says, we're going to be announcing some title fights later tonight, and he comes for UFC 300, and he comes out with, it's Zhang Weili versus Zhang Xiaonan, and you're like, oh, is that, I thought you, not a headliner, not, Izzy's back or
Pereira, people have got to check our other show to find out what we think might be them big fights.
Yes, we are going to do a show on our predictions for potential UFC 300 headliners, so check that out. It'll probably be released very, very soon. But
what's your beef?
I've got no beef. I love the fight.
Yeah.
I just think it's a bit like, come on, Dana. Like you said, you had big 300 announcement. It's like, okay.
I fucking love Zhang.
I love Zhang.
Like, it doesn't sound like it, mate.
I'm a big Zhang fan.
Yeah, well, tell your voice, because you're not saying anything about that. You're hating on it. And
I'm not hating on it. I just don't think it was worth all the bluster.
Right. Okay. I think she's the most exciting female fighter in the world.
Oh, is that more exciting than Jessica Andrade?
100%.
She's better.
Yeah.
Is she more exciting?
No, because
Jessica
Andrade just goes out swinging, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So I think
But as a champ, I think Zhang fucking great.
She is. Yes.
I love watching her fight, and this is great. I think this is a fantastic fight. Janine deserves that shot.
Yes.
And I don't know. I thought we might see UFC China, and that might have sort of topped the bill there, but obviously that doesn't look like it's happening anytime soon. So
it would have made sense, but for whatever reason, it's not worked out. And where do you think this? So this has been announced for UFC 300. Do you think this is one of 2 or one of 3 title fights for UFC?
You're gonna have to watch the other show to find out about that.
Oh, you're going to be talking about that on the other show?
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to tell you, I think it's one of 3.
Really?
Yeah, because I think they're doing Leon and Bilal, and there's got to be something on top of that as well.
Okay. All right. I see this as a Zhang win, by the way.
Yeah, me too. I think Xiaonan has actually really improved loads. I think she's great. But I think Zhang is just phenomenal. And it all plays into my prediction for down the stretch in 2024. Tatiana Suarez comes in and we have a new queen. Yeah.
And lastly, this literally got announced last night whilst we were tucked up in bed. That sounds like we live together.
Do we not?
Sometimes I'm there, but
don't we wear matching pyjamas and those little night hats?
Yeah.
Is that Morecambe and White, isn't it?
That's exactly it, yeah. They've announced Figgy versus Garbrandt. I think both of them have kind of alluded that they want this fight.
I'm just thinking of us as like the Bert and Ernie of MMA now. Like we are from Sesame Street. Hey there, Bert. You watch any fights this weekend, Bert?
Oh, there's going to be a graphic on Instagram coming soon with featuring that. Yeah, I mean...
Rubber ducky.
Rubber ducky. We saw Garbrandt get a tasty little win in his last against
Brian Kelleher.
Yeah.
And ridiculous hairstyle. Yep.
Oh, God, yeah. And we've seen Figgy in a new division looking decent. And now I think Garbrandt has got a very checkered history over the last few years. You know, he's not... I mean, he's still a savage because we saw that. Yeah. But
you made it sound like he was doing some really dodgy stuff outside of the cage there. He's got a checkered history.
Well, you know, he's been starched a few times, hasn't he?
Yes, he has, yeah.
And quite badly as well.
Yeah.
You know, to the point where I think, you know, people were having conversations like, it's time to knock it on the head, mate.
Yep.
But he's got that win back. And if you've got any doubts about your chin and what you're capable of doing, don't start getting in an octagon with Figgy, because he'll find that out, and he'll find that out quickly. I like Garbrandt. I think he's fantastic.
Yep.
Like Figgy. I think this is a fun fight. I don't think it's going to have huge implications on title shots, because I don't think Garbrandt is the fighter that he was. His stock in regards to his celebrity and his star power is.
You're wrong.
Oh, go on.
You're wrong, because Sean O'Malley, if he beats Vera... is going to be very choosy about who he fights. And I think he's had beef with Garbrandt in the past. He likes his chances against Garbrandt. And there is every possibility that Sean O'Malley versus Garbrandt gets made, even though you've got Merab, Corey Sandhagen, whoever else is knocking about at bantamweight. I just think...
Star power.
Well, I just think Sean O'Malley, if he beats Vera, if he knocks him out on one of what should be one of the cards of the year, I just think his star's going to rise so much that he can sort of just take control of whatever he wants to do. And Garbrandt, if he knocks out Figgy, it's not right, but it could very well happen that Garbrandt steps in and fight. We saw Dan Henderson fight Michael Bisping when he was ranked like 10th at middleweight or whatever it was. These things do happen.
I'm liking this.
Are you liking it?
Yeah.
See, I wouldn't like it because I want to see Marab or
no, I mean, don't get me wrong.
Sandhagen
clears a lot of them out easily. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it is. Growing up watching Garbrandt, it was super exciting. He was, he was Uriah's little boy, and ended up becoming like a legit champ. And I mean, fucking hell, watched him in some fantastic fights, and it was quite unpleasant to watch him get beaten, and in quite bleak style. He's no longer with Team Alpha Male, is he?
I don't think so. No. I'm not sure who he's with at the moment.
I think they were talking about that in the last fight about changing camps and stuff. But
that knockout of Rafael Assunção just lives rent free in my head. Like every now and again, that knockout would just come into my head. How amazing that was! That he was just like sort of leant against the fence and just went duck boom, and Assunção just dropped.
Yeah.
That is a phenomenal knockout.
Yeah, absolutely. But we all know Figgy ain't a joke, and it will be fun to see this big rock star fight between Sugar and Garbrandt. But I wouldn't be looking past Figgy yet, and I don't see him getting past Figgy. Yes, he's got that power that he can starch him. I don't know. I think Figgy's the bee's knees.
The bee's knees. That's a weird saying, isn't it? The bee's knees. Cat's pajamas.
Yeah. So I guess that's it for the big news, really.
That's it for the big news. What we're going to do now is we're going to record what we think could be some fun UFC 300 headliners. We're trying to take it a little bit seriously, but also having a little bit of fun with it.
You've only seen one of my picks, so I'm having a lot of fun with it.
So as we record this, UFC 300 headliner has not been announced. So hopefully our 300 headliner episode will be coming out soon, if it's not already out. So quickly check now. If you haven't looked, go and see if that UFC 300 headliner episode is out. And I think some people might have sent in their own picks for potential UFC 300 headliners.
Keep them coming in. We love them.
We love it. So thanks very much for supporting the show. Thanks so much for being on Instagram, TikTok, X, and kind of messaging us, sending us your thoughts, and contributing to the conversations that we have on there. And thanks if you are already subscribing to the YouTube. Thank you very much for that. And if you haven't yet, it don't cost anything, mate.
Press the button.
It's one click. It just helps us loads.
Absolutely.
Come on.
Absolutely. Right, we'll see you next time. Thanks ever so much.
Bye.